Kicking off like crazy. So welcome to the live stream. Just want to make sure that everything's working on my audio. Slipped there, so let me put it back onto fun. There we go. That should be much better sound. Anyway, welcome to the live stream and all the hiccups there. You think I've never done a live stream before. So this is the last live stream, not forever, the last live stream before my group cruise. I head off to Boston on Tuesday. Tuesday. We have some pre-cruise stuff on Wednesday, and the cruise starts on Thursday. There'll be around 70 people, so that's very exciting indeed. So in case you're just interested, let me know that is the itinerary. So it's 11 nights from the 19th to the 30th of September, calling on those ports with 3 sea days in between. Now, you might notice behind me a couple of things called the cruise maps. I'll talk about more of them actually when I get back from the trip, but they are one of the prizes on the group cruise as part of the raffle, where people can choose their own cruise. If you've never heard of the cruise maps before, I keep doing the wrong thing because it's mirrors. thecruisemaps.com/TFT, you can find out more. You can get 10% off. This little chappy here, a little bear with a little logo from the group cruise, is also one of the prizes in the raffle. And there's lots of other exciting things hopefully happening. Anyway, let's get into the live stream and lots of questions. Just a reminder, if you have questions, please pop the word question in front, because it makes it much easier for me to spot those amongst the various chat. Now, quite a few people left questions before the live stream. I guess people know that it gets a little bit frantic towards the end. I don't always get to answer all the questions, so people probably jumping in quickly. So let's get in with some of those questions, some really interesting, kind of challenging questions. So Chris, regular here. Hi there, Chris. I thought I knew all the river cruises, but I just saw one from Uniworld that cruises through the area, including Venice. Is this worth doing? And does it actually dock in Venice, saving time? So Chris, I've actually done that that particular cruise. I can't remember what it's called now. It's exactly, but it basically spends quite a few nights in Venice. So we actually spent in 2 parts of Venice over a couple of nights. It then heads off and goes to Padua and some other places. Now, depending on the water levels, depending how far you can go, it's a pretty good cruise, although you actually don't river cruise that much. You spend quite a lot of time in Venice. So it's really good for seeing Venice. Of course, you docked right in Venice. In fact, the ship that they used for that was the one that was hit and quite badly damaged by MSC Cruises before they it was one of the reasons they ended up banning kind of the big ships heading down the canal, plus all the concerns about what it's doing to Venice. But it's a pretty good cruise, although you don't really river cruise that much. You do some scenic cruising through the lagoon and stuff. So it was quite a nice cruise. It wasn't one of my favorite river cruises, though. If you do want to spend time in Venice, because you're docked in Venice overnight, so it's quite good. You can often go exploring Venice more in the evenings when the crowds are gone, both the land and the cruise one. So from that perspective, it is pretty good. So let's move on. Next question coming from Dave. Do you take anything for seasickness before or while you travel? My wife's very scared of rough seas and gets sick. Any advice, please? Have you been seasick on a cruise? And the next question coming up is another one around seasickness. It's interesting, actually. I've had more questions asked recently about seasickness in the last couple of lives. So that's quite interesting. So maybe as people are planning trips into less calm waters, as it were. So to answer your question, have I ever been seasick on a cruise? Now, touch wood, I've been on now 115 cruises. This group cruise will be my 116th, and I have never been seasick. Now, that could be famous last words. But I've never been seasick, including some very rough transatlantic crossings and Drake Passage, which I'll talk about in a second. So do I take anything? I do take stuff occasionally, mostly as sort of insurance and a reassurance. So if I think it's going to be rough, I will often take Dramamine, which you can only buy in the US, which I quite like because it doesn't make me too drowsy. I don't seem to have any side effects. There's a UK one called Sturgeon, which I also used to use. So I do sometimes. I haven't used the patches. I haven't used the behind the ear patches. Very interesting. When I was on the Ponant, Antarctica, at the end of 21, a lot of the crew were wearing the patch, and the doctor was prescribing that to them. So I guess I'm assuming your wife is scared of rough seas from a seasickness perspective, rather than the rough seas as such. Mark gets quite seasick. He goes and he actually reacts to the the seasick tablets. So he's actually had the jab. So if he's been on the ship and felt ill, you can go to the medical center and there is a chance to have a jab. You pay for it. And I think it's Phenergan, I'm not 100% sure. But I do take insurance, and I encourage people to, if they are nervous, to just take something, because it kind of, I think, calms you down quite a lot. So Dean asking the question, my wife is very reluctant to go on an Antarctic expedition cruise due to the nasty stories about crossing Drake Passage. Is it really that bad as portrayed? Is the Arctic any better? So Mark has never been with me to Antarctic. I've been twice. I'm going again at the end of October, because he is also concerned about Drake Passage. Plus, he's not a big fan of expedition cruising. So the Drake Passage is hit and miss. So I have been on it when it's kind of pretty rough, and I've also been on it when it's close to Drake Lake. So it is very variable. The ships, though, what you find with most of the Antarctic cruises, Dean, is the itineraries build in longer to get across Drake Passage than they actually need. They can do it quicker. So that means they can not leave port, for example, if it's too rough. So I have been on a cruise before where the captain held back us leaving the port. We left a bit later, but we went very fast across it because it had calmed down and we got there earlier. Coming back, they sometimes time it a little bit, so we've actually got it back to Shire earlier. So they will try and also work with it, knowing that people don't like it. It can be pretty rough, but what I would say, Dean, is when I was on that Ponant cruise, for example, after we got to Antarctica, suddenly all these people appeared that I hadn't seen for 2 days, and they were very seasick. And they were very seasick on the way back, but they argued that going to Antarctica was worth feeling rough and feeling seasick for. So it's not, I would really encourage people, Antarctica is just phenomenal. So again, a bit like we said, take that kind of precaution. Essex Resident 2000, I've become aware that some extended family members have booked the same cruise as we have. So that could be a terrible thing or a good thing, I guess. We haven't linked our cruise bookings yet. Are there any disadvantages to linking cruise bookings? So I saw this question a little bit before we went live, and I couldn't think of any disadvantages other than if you don't want to, have things like your dining connected and stuff. The advantage of connecting it is that things like the dining room and stuff will know that you are part of one booking. So they will be looking when they're allocating tables, if you're doing fixed dining, or something, so they will sort of know that you're connected. Also, if there's issues, they know which cabin to connect or whatever. So I can't think of any disadvantages. There are upsides, particularly if you want to spend time with dining and stuff like that. So if anyone has any better suggestions or things about disadvantages other than you don't want to spend time with us, then let us know. Lots of good wishes for the group cruise from Hetty, which is great to see here. Ken goes cruising. I'm very excited about this itinerary. I don't know how much of it I'll see with all the group cruise stuff going on, but it's an itinerary that I've really wanted to do for a long time. Rosemary here. The good news, there was an Air Canada strike due. But that got called off, I think, last night. So some people who are coming to the group cruise on Air Canada, they can breathe a little bit calmer, which is good. So let's have a look. Just a reminder, write the word question if you can. But luckily, I didn't miss your one, Rory. In your opinion, is ultra luxury cruising worth the massive cost? Or is it better to go premium, for example, Holland America, and pay for moderate drinks and specialty dining as we go? Regards, Rory. So Rory, a lot of people ask me this question, and my view is, in reality, although there's a perception that ultra-luxury cruising can be extremely expensive, if you look at a premium line, in fact, even some of the resort lines, some of my most expensive cruises last year were actually going on the resort lines because I wanted to go on the resort lines. So I wanted the big ship experience. I wanted to try what their ship within a ship was. Those cost me more than going on my Silver Sea cruise, for example, that I went to South Africa. They cost me more than going on my Regent cruise. So a little bit hinges around what grade you're going. So if you're cruising in a premium at a suite, you're likely to find that you can go ultra luxury, as you say, with those inclusions for the same or less. So for me, the big difference in reality is the experience you want. So for example, if you go on a smaller ship, which all the ultra luxury ships are, they're up to around about 700 Crystal used to be more, they brought that down. Explorer Journeys are 900 and something. So they tend to be smaller ships, but it means that you're going to lose stuff. So you're going to lose, say, for example, the bigger entertainment, the more active daily program, that kind of stuff. That's what you're going to lose, if you like. So it's also important about the experience you want. So if you want much more, if you value as a premium more personalization, people understanding what you want more, you're not bothered about the shows, you're not bothered about as big a busy casino, you're not bothered about as big a daily program, then I would say it definitely is worth it. So I do like going on smaller ships. What I would say though, Rory, is take a look at the middle ground. So in the middle ground between those, you've got the small ship luxury experience. So Viking, Azamara, Windstar, Oceania, for example, because you'll actually find, from a price perspective, you're right, once you add some of those add-ons, some of them have more inclusions than others. That is quite a good way of testing out the small ship experience. So hopefully that helps. Calling all ports, wishing me luck, Claudia, who I think, Claudia, you're coming on the Panama one. Heike, who I will be seeing in a couple of days' time, who's coming. Heike is one of 6 people coming on the group cruise who are I have to think of a status level, don't I? They're the 2-timers, the 6 people who will be coming on that group cruise, who are on the first group cruise, and Mark and Nanette are also coming along as well, which is great. And Mark's helping me out. Mark and Nanette are helping me out on embarkation day with some of the arrangements and bits and pieces. And he's sort of the official photographer. He helped me out with collecting lots of B-roll, which is great. And Steve-O, another person coming along, which will be great on the group cruise as well. So here's a question. I can see one from Tom, a long question. I'll have to try and glance at that before I go. Harsit Jen, Regent or Explorer? So I have not been on Explorer Journeys yet. I'm going on Explorer Journeys only in April. Regent I do really like. I'm going on Regent again at Christmas time. Now, basically, Harsit, I've actually made a video which will come out in a couple of weeks' time, where I've been reviewing all the reviews of all the cruise lines. Well, not all, 25. So most of the cruise lines, the target English-speaking cruises. And I've been looking at all their reviews and all their ratings for the last 6 months. And certainly what I would say in this category is Explorer Journeys is the strongest performing in terms of current ratings and reviews by guests. So they are beating Seabourn, they're beating Regent, they're beating Silversea, and the close to them is actually the revamped Crystal. Now, admittedly, both of those have slightly fewer reviews, so that does help if they're positive. But certainly Explorer the reviews are very positive. People that I know who've been on Explorer have rated it very highly. Now, it's really important when you're comparing them, because Explorer has far fewer inclusions, Regent has many more inclusions. So my gut feeling is Explorer is definitely one to try, and I would better be able to answer the question Regent or Explorer once I've done it. But certainly, if people are thinking of trying it, they're getting very, very good ratings. Tom, here, let's have a look. A long question here. I can just peek over it. Looking at 2 options for an August 2026 Norwegian cruise. Regent Grandeur, 40 nights out of Reykjavik and 8 fjords, newer ship, fewer fjords. Or Mariner, so that's also a Regent, 20 nights out of Copenhagen with 11 fjords, older ship, more fjords. Any inputs, comments to aid our decision, we will investigate onboard discounts for Regent Explorer in October. I would say, I mean, I'm going on Grandeur in December, so I'll have a better perspective of it. And I haven't been on Mariner. I've obviously been on Explorer. So, Tom, if you have the time and you have the money, I would definitely go for the deeper dive, because the layout of the ships, from what I can see from the deck plans, is pretty similar. The specialty dining are pretty similar. In fact, not pretty similar, they're the same. So I would definitely lean towards the other. The ships are very beautiful. I mean, even Navigator, which is an old ship, I like Navigator. I'm going on Navigator end of next year on quite a long trip down West Africa. I mean, even that ship, even though it's old, it's beautifully maintained and the service is great. So I would, if you've got the time and money, I would definitely go longer, because getting into more parts of Norway and Norwegian fjords, you're never gonna regret that. Hi there, Sarah, travel agent Sarah. who has, of course, done all the hard work behind the scenes for the group cruise. Unfortunately, is unable to, for various personal reasons, not come on that group cruise. So she's going to be very sorely missed, partly because she was able to put it to work. But I think a lot of the group was looking forward to meeting Sarah. So hopefully Sarah will be coming on the Panama one. Boca Boys, good to see you here. As always, you're good regulars now. What are your thoughts on Holland America versus Princess? Haven't sailed on either. In that category, we typically sell Celebrity, asking because of transatlantic itineraries we found on both. Boca Boys, I personally significantly prefer Holland America to Princess. So it's kind of a personal thing overall. I like particularly, and I don't know what ships you're looking at for those, but I really, really like the new Holland America, New Statendam, Westerdam, so the Pinnacle class ships. They are quite big ships, but they're just nicely laid out. They have a nice range of specialty dining. I like, although they have dialed down some of the music walk stuff, but they still have really good music. The shows are okay. They're not great. They're evolving them, but I just like the whole look of the ships, the feel of the ships. They're a little bit more traditional. Princess, I feel, are not quite firing yet. Their food is so. I haven't been on Princess for a while. I really went off Princess, but I'm going next year back twice on Princess because I feel I need to give them a go. I'm going on Sky Princess in May with Paul and Carol's group cruise, and then I'm trying their new ship, the Sun Princess, in June, which Mark is coming with me. Now that's a big mega ship. Well, they're very interesting this week. They've just announced massive changes to that ship. They've scrapped the big play area they were building on deck 19. They're changing, I think I counted 5 or 6 of the restaurants. They're moving around the ship and stuff. So clearly their new class of ships not quite working yet. But I feel that Holland America overall just are probably, they're more traditional. I just like them much more. I feel the food is really good. The afternoon tea's sinking a bit, but I'm sure they'll get a grip of that. Princess is, I think, still trying to get a grip of their food. They're actually using, though, Rudy Soderman, who sorted out Holland America food. So personally, I lean towards Holland America. And I know other people love Princess. I just feel Holland America kind of just do things a little bit better. Princess definitely have better shows overall, but I think the live music on Holland America is better. Princess, they both have those sort of included fare things. Princess got really complicated with the Princess Plus and the Princess Premier. Holland America just had the straightforward, have it all fare. Of my 3 group cruises, I'm doing 2 of them on Holland America because I just feel they appeal to the broadest audience of all. KY, what are you planning to do with the group in Boston? Will you have a group tour there? Curious, as we'll be there soon. So KY, thanks for asking that. So basically what I'm doing, I've been working with the Meet Boston team. So actually one of the people on Meet Boston, Carol Copeland-Thomas, is a big fan, and she's actually one of my patrons. So she follows me as a patron, which is very nice of her. And she got me a connection. She's on one of the board, I can't remember, I think diversity board or something like that, at Meet Boston. So she put me in contact with them. So what we're doing with them is 2 things. One of which is we're doing a event, a tour, I think that's the right word, a Q&A at View Boston, which is up on the Prudential Center, which is a shopping center, big building. It's a big viewing platform. So Meet Boston and View Boston, which is the attraction, are hosting us there. We obviously get a scenic view of Boston. We're going to do a Q&A about Boston and stuff. Then there'll be a bit of free time where people can either you get the public transport down or walk down. Then in the evening, Meet Boston are hosting at the Faneuil Hall a reception for the group, which is going to have local food and drink, dignitaries and stuff. So they're hosting like a cocktail reception for us as well. So that's what we're doing there. We did look at different options, but and they were looking at various different options of tours, which they're going to set up for us, and we decided we would do that one as the simplest one to do. So that's what we're doing. Megan is asking a question about Alaska. So I have a great time, by the way, in Boston. I'm really looking forward to it. I've only been to Boston once in my life, and that was when I was working for Johnson & Johnson. We had a big meeting in Boston, so I didn't really get to see that much of it. Megan, going to Alaska, 2 questions. How do you know how legit the stands of the port sitting excursions are? Secondly, if you have holidays in port, is it time to do more than one excursion? So Megan, I have never bought an excursion from those stands at the port because I'm a little bit, what I suspect you're saying is, I'm just a little bit nervous about, how good are they, how reliable are they, etc. Now you can quite easily, if you've got connection to, literally kind of Google and check any reviews, etc. So what I tend to do is I either tend to book the cruise line excursion, or I use one of the providers, so Venture Ashore or Shore Excursions Group, because I just know that they have vetted and validated the providers. They get feedback after every tour, so they only kind of work with tour companies that have had good, reliable feedback. So that's why I tend to do that, and they tend to be smaller groups and better pricing. So for example, for the group cruise, I partnered with Venture Ashore, and in 3 of the ports, they've organized tours. So that's my personal feel, because I just don't know. I suspect, I don't know, they must have a license, or there must be, I'm sure just not anyone can pitch up there and do it. I'm sure there must be some control of them, but I don't know what it is, and I've never explored that. I probably should do. Secondly, on your second question, if you have holidays in port, is it time to do more than one excursion? A lot of it depends on how long you've got. So in some you could, so for example, in Skagway, if you're there from very early morning to late, you could do the train in the morning and do something in the afternoon. So it is possible. The advantage, of course, of working with the cruise line / working with Venture Ashore or Shore Excursions Group is they work with the timings, and they kind of know the timings, and they will adjust timings. So for example, one of our group tours, we were a little bit nervous because it was coming back we felt a little bit too close to all aboard time, and they shifted the excursion an hour and a half earlier. So they are quite good at that flex. I put links, by the way, to Venture Ashore and Shore Excursion Group in the notes. So I hope that helps. But you're right, you need to watch the timings of those and make sure that you're comfortable with the excursion provider, that they are going to do that. Okay, whoops. Acadian Proud. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Acadian, yeah. Hope you enjoy the Maritimes. Thank you. Will you be taking the side trip down to see Peggy's Cove? For your information, Carr's Ice Cream in Charlottetown is always good. So Acadian Proud, one of the group tours is going down to Peggy's Cove in Charlottetown. I think it's quite a long 5-hour tour. Now I don't know if I'm going to go on the tours yet. On the group tours, I'll see how arrangements things go, but I can jump on that tour if I want to. A lot of people tell me I should go down there, but certainly we've got 24 people on the group that have booked that excursion. I'm sure other people have booked excursions with the cruise line doing that. And I've heard a lot of people talking about the ice cream. In fact, Rosemary, who I referred to earlier, sent me a message about the ice cream. So I'm not a massive ice cream fan, but I feel I need to be trying those ice creams. Sangholi. I'm thinking of taking my parents, 65 years old, great age, that's the age I am, for their first cruise. Would you recommend an Alaska, Europe, or Caribbean cruise for first-time seniors, or more like a port-heavy / light cruise? Now, Sangholi, I'm not sure where you're based, because one of those things could factor in. How comfortable are your parents doing long-haul travel, for example? Most 65-year-olds are up for that and happy to gallivant and do long-haul travel. But that will be one consideration, I would say, is are they comfortable with long-haul travel? Depending, unless you're able to splash out and take them in business class and they can do lie flats and stuff, then I'm sure they'll go anywhere. But that would be one thought. Now, personally, again, it depends on your interests. But I would say the first 2 of those I would really focus on. Alaska, because it is so unique and memorable. It's very obviously geared and organized. The places, all the towns that you dock are normally very close by. And it is kind of a bucket list or a must-see for people. And a lot of people on Alaska cruises go as multi-generational. So they'll find lots of multi-generational people. You'll find grandparents, parents, kids traveling together. So it's that kind of vibe. So Alaska is a great opportunity. The advantage of Alaska is there's lots of places you can go to. You can go to Vancouver, you can go to Seward, Whittier, Seattle, even San Francisco, depending on the time of the year. In terms of Europe again is another great, memorable trip, particularly if you do a Western Mediterranean, because you and them can tick off iconic ports. If you can tick off Barcelona, you can go to Livorno and go to Florence, Pisa, Civitavecchia, go to Rome. You might, in France, you might go to Marseille or Monte Carlo or Nice. So you actually tick off these incredibly iconic places. So those are kind of incredibly memorable cruises. So that's why I would tend towards those. Caribbean, of course, is great. I love going to the Caribbean. I love the beaches. But actually, if you want a cruise that people are going to just remember, Alaska or something like Western Mediterranean. The other one in Europe worth considering is kind of the Adriatic, where you go between Venice and Athens. That's another great one. But I would tend to go towards the Western Caribbean. Brian, with one of my hobby horse things, is noise. So Oceana Vista cruise in Athens, no noise at a concierge cabin, which is great here. It's very interesting. Funny you should say that, Brian, as I was looking on Facebook, because I follow a lot of the Facebook groups as well as the reviews on Cruise Critic. And the noise thing blew up again. Again, interestingly related to what I was in, a penthouse cabin. A lot of people talking about it again. So, but you're right, it does seem to be a lot linked around the design and cabin, and certainly concierge and stuff. It seems to work better. So if I ever go on a Vista, I think that's the sort of thing I need to target. But I did find the very loud daytime pipe music on the pool deck very intrusive. Now it's interesting, Brian, I didn't notice that particularly, but I was in the Caribbean. So I was out, and it was quite port intensive, and I was out pretty much most days. You could do the beach or whatever. I didn't actually spend time on the pool deck at all. I tend not to sit around the pool, but it's interesting because I have heard and read quite a few comments when I was doing that. And if you were there earlier when I was saying I've reviewed the 25 lines, reviews and scores, and the pool music on the pool deck came up quite a few times. And actually one person spoke about how they complained, and after a couple of days it had got adjusted. So it definitely seems to be an issue. A LinkedIn user. So when I do this live stream, it goes live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So with a LinkedIn user, normally brings up the name. I saw a recently priced TUI Nile cruise. I'm currently stationed in Germany, and I'm very interested in finally selling the Nile as a history buff. I just can't stomach the price of Viking, which is $14,000, not include flight. Yeah, right. It's very expensive. Have you ever sailed TUI? So LinkedIn user, I haven't sailed on TUI, but what I would say is I did the Nile River cruise on AMA Waterways, and you're right, it was not as expensive as Viking, but it was quite expensive. But what's interesting is with most of these Nile cruises are often chartering local ships. So, and TUI is very good value. I mean, the good thing about TUI is, the ship will probably not be it's unlikely to be as luxurious as Viking ship, which looks very beautiful ship. But I mean, the AMA Waterways one, which is supposed to be also 5-star, the ship was fine. It wasn't incredible. But because a lot of them are chartered by local, and then run by local, sailors and guides, obviously, and stuff like that. So I think it would be a good option. I haven't sailed with them. I did see quite a lot of TUI Nile cruises when I was out and about. So they definitely know the region incredibly well. The ships are fine. So I would certainly say, I mean, Nile is phenomenal. I don't know if you've watched my video around the Nile. My only tip that I would have is, and I learned this hard way, is these ships are very noisy and have really loud diesel engines. So try and, when you book, to go in the middle of the ship, because at night you'll be docked together, and they often like 20-30 ships docked together. And if you're at the back, which I basically had this really now loud noise all night. People in the middle of the ship didn't hear anything. That would be my key tip. Hi Rhonda, good to see you here. Rhonda, another regular. Do you have any items you always pack for a cruise, like magnetic hook or a water bottle? I'm packing now, so I'm curious. So Rhonda, I do have a bit of a system. I'm trying to think if there's anything like that I have. I do have, because I go roughly on a cruise a month, I always pack sort of automatic. So I do have a few things. I don't take the magnetic hook, I don't take the water bottle. Many cruise lines now often will give a water bottle because they've moved away from the plastic bottles. I take the thing that came to my head. I take my Bluetooth speakers because I love to listen to music and I like to listen to my music. So I take my little my Bluetooth speakers. I always take my little first aid kit, which has got all sorts of stuff in from, stuff for mouth ulcers, plasters, antidiarrheals, headache pills and stuff. Those, but a lot of those things that I know people make videos around, little hacks around magnetic hooks and over the door shoe holders and all that sort of stuff. I don't. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I take. I obviously take on my cameras, but the for me thing is I figure if I've got my passport, my credit cards, my first aid kit, and my speakers, I'm probably done. Little aside, I think Mark takes his pillow on most of his trips, wherever he goes. Levoya, please share solo booking tips. I have a video which I will put a link in the description of this, pointing you towards my solo video where I talk about that. But Levoya, the other way, so I'll put in the notes. Or if you just go to the channel, this little search button, if you just put solo in there, it will bring that up. But I will put a link in as well. That's the easiest way of doing that, because otherwise I will probably leave some out. I just want to write the word questions so I don't miss anything. York Bike Man, Nelly missed it. What are your favorite ports of call in the Aegean and the Adriatic? So it's a great itinerary. I really like any Greek island pretty much, although going to like Santorini is great, but it's really packed. But I love going to Kotor. Is probably for me one of the absolute highlights. So anything in Croatia is the key, I would say. And obviously then Athens and Menes at either end. Claudia has a question. I usually cruise in premium sphere, expedition and luxury line. Sorry, I usually cruise in the premium sphere. Expedition and luxury line, you recommend if I were to splash out on one of each that might have good solo pricing. Okay, so in terms of expedition, there are 3 lines that I would keep an eye out on, Claudia, and this is what I've normally done because they do run solo deals, is Silver Sea, which is my preferred expedition line, although I did absolutely love my time on Seabourn. They have a little tab on their site, which is solo deals, and they will run, although they have said they're going to have fewer of those that apparently, but they do have a little solo tab there where you will see both for the Galapagos, which I got a solo deal on, and when I went to Antarctica the first time, got a solo deal on. I didn't get a solo deal on this next one because it's an itinerary that I absolutely wanted to do. So it's costing me, unfortunately, not a solo deal, but I really wanted to do this South Georgia element again, and I wanted to do on Silver Sea, and I wanted to do on the new ship. But Silver Sea had that tab. Seabourn, when I went to the Kimberley, they had a 25% solo deal, and Ponant. So if you're comfortable going on a line which may be mostly French, so they do always have solo deals. So sign up for their new email newsletters as well as look at the tab. Like Seabourn, I don't think has a tab, but I found the Kimberley one because they bring an email out every now and again with solo deals, and Ponant does have that little tab there. But for me, Silver Sea is my favorite expedition line overall, I think. In terms of luxury lines, so again, Silver Sea and Seabourn, they do those solo deals. Silver Sea probably has the biggest range of solo deals. Crystal did a promotion recently. So the thing to do is often sign up for the email newsletters for those. But Silver Sea is the one that probably has the most. Now, in terms, that's the ultra luxury side. In terms of luxury, obviously you've got Oceania, Azamara, Windstar, Viking. Viking, I've never seen a solo deal, but they do them sometimes. But I would, I would keep an eye on those. But they all are pretty good for solo. But those would be my favorites. So Jeffrey's here. He's also coming on the group cruise, which is fantastic. Let's have a look. The Wu Tang Life, another regular here. The airline lost my luggage on a side-to-side cruise. Carnival Breeze and Jubilee. Has this ever happened to you? You should do a video on travel nightmares and what to do. So it hasn't happened to me. So I guess you're saying, so the airline lost your luggage. Okay, so I was thinking the cruise line lost your luggage. So I have had my luggage missing, but it's always got to me. So I've been on for example, I was on a river cruise once where my luggage wasn't on the flight and it was coming later. But luckily, even though we were quite some way, I think I flew into Frankfurt and we got from Passau, if I remember correctly. But we were actually overnight And the advantage they actually got by the next day, they got the bag to me. And then it happened once when I was, no, that was a land-based one. It was when I was heading out of Cape Town. But again, they'd send it on the next flights. So I now, of course, I have the AirTag, so I can kind of keep a track of where my bag is. So far, touch wood, I have been relatively lucky. I know other people have been less fortunate. I've been on many a cruise where people haven't had their luggage. Many cruises. You can often tell by the first night and certainly on the second night based on what people are wearing to dinner. So in terms of travel nightmares, it's a great point, actually. I do joke a little bit that I feel I should have launched a channel or a website called The Clumsy Traveler. I'm incredibly clumsy and I'm always dropping things, losing things, falling in scrapes. If you've even watched my Kimberley video, you'll see now, I scraped my leg and did all sorts of things. So I probably should do a video around travel nightmares and what to do, because there are many of those, like being denied boarding, losing your luggage. So that's a great idea. I think that's a great one. I will do that because I do have hacks for many of those things, because I've either come across those or I have had people who have helped solve them, everything from teeth breaking to, as you say, luggage. That's a great idea. Thanks for that. By the way, if anyone ever has suggestions for video topics, please do let me know, because it's always really helpful to have those. Katie and sorry, it's not coming up for some reason. So ask me another question about the Nile that are combined with archaeological tools. I haven't seen those. If they would sound incredible. I mean, the Nile cruise is amazing. So anything that builds in more archaeological, that's got to be absolutely amazing. Wow. M. Whitson J. Williams. Planning a family Christmas market river cruise. The best river, the best line. Cousins, all expat travelers, ages 65 plus and active. Okay, so let's have a look. So that everyone's 65. Okay, so if you were young, if there was a mix of ages, I would probably have said, look at something like Ama Magna, which I think does that route. So personally, I tend to lean towards the Rhine, just because I associate Christmas markets with Germany so much. I know obviously if you do like a Danube, you're going to touch other countries, but for me, Germany and Christmas markets are so intertwined. So that's why I tend to focus. If you're talking 65 plus, in reality, all the cruise lines tend to skew 65 plus. If you're looking for something much more active, I would lean towards Avalon and I would lean towards Amma Waterways. Now, Emerson J. Williams, I did a video recently this month. Where are we now? September. So it's the end of last month into this month. I did a set of 2 videos, they're kind of partner videos, which are the river cruise lines that are currently rated best and the river cruise lines that are sort of being rated down at the moment. And you'll see why there's some reasons why they're being marked down, some of them to do with language and things which are probably a little bit unfair. But take a look at those, because that will talk a little bit more about particularly the active side. So that would hopefully help you or the others decide, because I cover each of the lines. But my gut reaction, my initial reaction is take a look at Amma Waterways, take a look at Avalon, are the 2 that sort of popped for me based on what you've told me there. And of course, if you work with a travel agent, based on where you are, they will be able to dive into that much more. Marilyn making the point actually that you're right. Oceania have rolled out solar cabins across all of their fleet as well, which is a good point. Thanks for adding that. Billy asking the question, I can find the cruise I want to Sweden, Norway one, even from Amsterdam, so not far from my house. Should I still use a travel agent? Billy, I'm maybe biased. In fact, I'm going to put a link to the article let me make a note. I'm going to put a link to the article about travel agents and why I use them. In reality, my point would always be yes, because a travel agent will not cost you more than booking direct, but you get all the support of a travel agent. If anything goes wrong, you get any questions, they can sort it out. Where, if you're dealing with the cruise line, most of the people are kind of salespeople. If you phone up, they're not necessarily on top of all the detail. So using a travel agent isn't going to cost you any more. Cruise lines don't undercut travel agents. Most of their business comes still from travel agents. So I would tend to use a travel agent. I'll put the link to that article in. I dive into, like, in much more detail why I do that. Kat DMRN. What are your thoughts on doing Alaska in April? Norwegian Cruise Line seems to be the only cruise line in April. Do you suggest Princess or Holland America later? Thank you in advance and best wishes on your upcoming cruise. Really interesting. I don't know enough about going in April. I've been in May and fairly early in May, which I really like because the season is just starting. May, I know, is one of the months where you have much lighter rain or much less chance of rain. But I know we've seen the Alaska season get stretched much more. So, you know, and you're right, most tend to start in May. My view is always probably, sorry, I probably just banged my microphone there. My view is has always been, the season's always started in May, and it's presumed it started in May for a good reason, which may just be around logistics, but it starts in May for a reason. So I would approach it with some caution. I'm sure you can probably find people who've done it in April. So I would be a little bit cautious. Certainly in May is fantastic. So particularly if you're talking to the end of April, the advantage is, you know, Alaska gets crazy busy. So by May, it's really busy. It gets really busy. But the advantage that I'm sure the facilities are open. I would just check that you got all the excursions and stuff opening up. But I would definitely take a look at it. I mean, the advantage with Princess and Holland America, many of the itineraries go into Glacier Bay. Norwegian used to go into Glacier Bay. I'm not sure they do anymore. So I don't know if that really helps you. Moonman 547 are here. We're going to see them in Boston. Better not be raining in Boston. It's terrible. We're having so weather in London. I keep looking at the weather reports of Boston, which look amazing. Although I did see someone posting that on Thursday, which is I think the day that we go. I'm going to look right now actually at the weather. It's been like 25 degrees, 26 degrees. Wednesday, it's got a little bit of rain. Thursday, 22. So hopefully Wednesday, which I guess is our pre-cruise stuff, looks a little bit rainy. I'm relying on them being really sunny. In fact, the Meet Boston people sent me, she sent me, because they were having a meeting, and she sent me pictures from the office of the beautiful sunny days. So my boy saying it's not difficult to beat seaborne ratings these days. So Bobby, are these cruises from the company Evercruise? Yeah, so they are. They're Matt and Will is the company. Matt, who's the geographer, Will, who's the naval architect. But you're right, that's the same company. Absolutely, yes. Let's have a look. KB saying sorry they can't join, but because they're so organized, they're way ahead of time. Katie. Are you aware of Viking Ocean River cruises can provide COVID testing? They do not. They don't do testing. So I've been, way back in, I guess, 20 into 21 they did, but they don't. They got rid of the labs. They don't do those. And as someone pointed out, unless you're getting symptoms or stuff, then any cruise line would take a look at that. Lady Golfer, good to see you here again. Would you consider doing a small group cruise around Africa? I haven't really thought about that, to be honest. Some of those more exotic itineraries is always a challenge, just in terms of, from a price perspective, it does exclude a lot of people. But I've been asked a lot around doing expedition, whatever. So never say never, but I haven't really thought of it. To be honest with you, I haven't thought beyond any other group cruise yet. After, got the Panama one at the beginning of 2026. A lot of people asked me about doing a river cruise one. So I haven't really thought about more group cruises. So I will have a think after I come back from this one. Now, this is obviously, I'm doing 70 people. Our Panama one, I'm also going to be around 70 people we're aiming for. Barbara, we're off on a Viking Panama Canal cruise in a few weeks. Very nice. I've got mine in December, my 4th one in December, which I'm very excited about. I watched your videos. Good. Any other tips? I don't think so, Barbara. The only thing I would do a double check on, of course, is depending on what ship you're on. I'm guessing on Viking, it's almost certainly that you're going through the old locks, which is very exciting. I don't think I've got any other tips other than I've got in my videos. If I think of something, I will, if it comes jumping into my brain before the end of this, I will shout. Very envious. Have a fabulous time. I'm very excited doing Panama Canal again in December. And I'm doing it with Mark, who, when we did Panama last time, was, he sort of enjoyed Panama, but I think he's very excited. I think I've convinced him that he's missed out on really. I think he's struggling to work out why I'm so obsessed about the Panama Canal, and he's determined to get into it this time, which is great. Marilyn, I tried to leave a like on screen, yet I have to sign in. Why and which is better? I'm on Panama 2026 cruise. Look forward to meeting everyone. Well, looking forward to the 26th Panama Canal cruise. I will, when I get back from this group cruise, I want to start engaging with everyone booked on that to talk about things like, do they want group excursions and some of the learnings from this one. In terms of like, I think you have to be logged into YouTube, into a YouTube account to leave a like, or I think even comment on a video. So it's more around if you want to in reality, but I think you're right. You can't like something without being in. So that's right. Let's have a look. Question, here we go. Jay, great show, thank you very much. I've seen a decline in service on Celebrity, especially the bartending. Why? Too full, cost cutting by hiring new workers. It's evident others agreed with me in the retreat. So it's interesting, Jay. Again, if you were here earlier, I mentioned that I have looked at all of those kind of 25 lines and reviews. Interestingly, on Celebrity was a little bit more split. And it was actually very much split, Jay, between the new ships, so Edge, Apex, Beyond, and obviously Excel coming, versus the Solstice class ships, which we are on for this group cruise, and Millennium. So there was a feeling that the Celebrity was sort of a little bit overly focused in some ways about the new ships and not quite as on the ball with the older ships. And I don't know whether it's because they sort of have their A-team, senior team, the captains. You obviously got Captain Kate, and I've got the name of the two brothers. It's sort of some of their A-team captains are sort of all on the new ships, and whether that's cascading down in terms of leadership or whatever. But I did see a real difference between the two. So we'll obviously see when we're on Celebrity Eclipse from next week, if that's the case. My sense would be, so I don't know the specific answer, but looking at the reviews, you're right, ships are setting very full. I think the big challenge across all of the cruise industry still is the point you make about new workers. I did see some stats where they were talking about, if you look at all the ships coming into service, the cruise lines have to recruit something like 20,000 new crew members to cover the capacity coming. So that's obviously a massive job at the rate that ships have come out. So I feel personally, in my experience on across cruise lines, a lot of it feels like training and experience, and because there's so many new people coming out. I saw it even when I was on Seabourn, and the video which is coming out next week, I talk a little bit about service. Just not, service was great, but it wasn't as good as, say, on the classic fleet, and there was a lot of relatively new crews. So that's what I think. I think it's a mixture of those two things. Again, that's personal opinion, but I'm very interested to see when I'm on Eclipse coming up, whether that is the case or not. Lots of discussion around Green Gables, which is great. I'll follow up on that afterwards. Just a reminder, right? Question. Diane asked me a question. Didn't miss it. We are on the Panama cruise from Vancouver soon, and also the Hawaiian Circle in January. Have you ever had experience with an aft cabin? So Diane, I am probably one of the few people that's not a big fan of aft cabins. So I have tended not to book an aft cabin. However, I know that people who like aft cabins absolutely love them, because obviously you can sit on the back and you just have this view across the wake of the ship, and particularly when you're sailing out of port or you're in very scenic parts of the world, like parts of Alaska, or even the Panama Canal cruise. The great thing is you can just sit on your balcony, obviously watching it, so backing out of it, but it's a great view as well from the Panama canoes. I'm not a big fan. I mean, certainly if you're get rough sea, there can be a tendency to have more vibration, because obviously you have the rudders and engine, or the engine sort of further forward, I guess, but it can be a bit more from a vibration. If you have lots of rough seas, you can get much more movement. But it's more, I just like being midship. I find it easier, because the advantage of midships is everything's kind of equal. If the back of the ship, you're at the one end. However, I must say I am in the minority, and most people will kind of bite your hand off to get an aft cabin. So that's definitely I'm in the minority. Hi, Christopher. As an American, I enjoy the Britishness you bring. Thank you. good to know that perspective. I'd love for you to bring us along on more UK expeditions. Any chance of that? Maybe narrowboats or sailing. Loved your UK train route. It's interesting, Christopher, because I realized that someone was asking. I've had quite a few queries recently. I get a lot of queries around UK cruising, and I have done a number of them. But when I look back to suggest videos, I realized that I have never posted about them. I posted about the line or whatever. So I did it on Princess, I did it on Windstar, and a few other lines. So I absolutely will do more UK, particularly round UK sailings, because I get asked around that a lot. I haven't done the narrow boats thing. It's interesting. I went for a cycle this afternoon down by the canal parts. Lots of canals go through London, and was actually looking at the narrow boats again. I probably should have. I've done a canal cruise in France, but I've never done one in narrowboat. So definitely, I will look at that for sure. So thanks for that. Thanks for that suggestion. Pam, interesting. Asked another question about parents. Lots of lucky parents being taken on cruises soon. So Pam, my parents who are 80 are currently planning one big cruise together, but we're currently torn between the Norwegian fjords and the Mediterranean. Pam, I would go for the Norwegian fjords personally. Certainly, that is the advantage with that is, you know, as you're sailing, you get the most incredible experience. So I would tend to lean towards the Norwegian fjords. It tends, and this can sound very ageist of me probably, but certainly it's a much easier cruise in many ways, because you know, a lot of your sailing time is scenic, so you can sit out on deck, balcony, whatever, depending on what cabin you've got, or even sitting in lounges enjoying the scenery. There's lots of kind of scenic, more panoramic excursions and stuff. You know, if you do the Mediterranean, some of them can be quite tiring days. So particularly if you're doing Western Mediterranean, you know, if you're going to Florence, that's a good hour and a half away. The tour is going to be, you know, a 7-8 hour tour, lots of walking. If you're going the same out of Civitavecchia to Rome, so a lot of the excursions are quite long kind of days, lots of walking and stuff. Obviously, you can do more panorama ones as well. But the fjords, you know, if you ever go on a fjords cruise, it tends to skew as an older demographic in many cases. So that, to me, often tells you something about it overall. And I see a couple of other people are saying, Gusto asked me about favorite specialty restaurants on Norwegian. I've been asked that a couple of times, and to be honest with you, I have not done many specialty. When I've been on Norwegian, I have not done many specialty restaurants, which is very unusual because, of course, that's what they're known for. So I have a terrible thing. Katie, I'm not sure. I joined your Patreon on September the 8th and received my PayPal confirmation payment. I've not received confirmation for Tips for Travelers. When can I expect your confirmation? So Katie, I'm not sure what that's about. If you message me on Patreon, I will have a look at, let me just write that. I will have a look and see what's going on. Because normally when someone joins me on Patreon, for those who don't know, Patreon is like you pay a small subscription, depending on your level, what perks you get, patreon.com/Tips for Travelers. But when it alerts me that somebody, when you sign up, you should get an automatic email, which has a whole lot of stuff around how to download, depending on level, different perks and things like ebooks or whatever. And then I would normally, because it tells me if someone has signed up when I look at the notifications, and I drop people an email as well. So I'll have a look at that as well, Katie. One of the things I've found is sometimes, some people end up having 2 accounts on Patreon. And that becomes a challenge sometimes because people sign in via their Google account and also sign up with their email. But I will have a look and see what it's telling me in Patreon from that. But normally, you should get an email triggering that. So I'll have a look at that, and I will drop you a line, assuming I can find you on Patreon as well. I'll do that after that. Right, Jihane, do you have a top 5 favorite specialty restaurants on any cruise ship? Also, if you can, please mention at least one from a mainstream cruise line. Thank you in advance. So, Jahan, hopefully I pronounced it correctly. My favorite specialty restaurants tend to be anything that's kind of Asian and sushi related. I'll tell you why. I found most cruise ships will have a steakhouse and have an Italian. That sort of seems to be the default. And in reality, I've found whether you're going on Region 7 Seas or I'm going on Royal Caribbean, I found the steakhouse is the steakhouse, and I'm sure there's more differences between that. So none of those ever end up being the top. So it does tend to be more like Asian. So for example, one of my favorite specialty restaurants is the Tamarind on Holland America. I like Sushi on 5 on Celebrity. If you're doing the more premium end, you've got Red Ginger on Oceania and Pacific Rim on Regent. So anything kind of on that spectrum of Asian. I'm trying to remember the name, come back to the earlier question on Norwegian Cruise Line. They did have an Asian fusion restaurant, which was fantastic. I think it might have been called Food Republic. I think it was called Food Republic, but I can't remember. But those tend to be my favorites of all. Let me think if there's any others. Let me think on Princess. On Princess, in reality, actually, their Italian restaurant was pretty good. I'm just trying to think through Princess, Holland America, Royal Caribbean, MSC. Did anyone really stand out for me? Those are my favorites. Normally the Asians, because also you tend to find that they are just a little bit different. I know the other one on Norwegian, come back to the real question, and this as well. I also do quite enjoy the theatre of the teppanyaki. So on Norwegian Cruise Line, they did it really, really well. It was a massive venue, and I can't remember again what it was called. I was thinking about it the other day, but the teppanyaki restaurant is great. And the one on Royal Caribbean that I've done as well is great as well. So those are them. CM Johnson, my wife and I are leaving on Paul Gauguin cruise in 2 weeks. Very, very nice. With a Bora Bora stay, very, very nice. Do you have recommendations on how to best balance shore excursions with water-related activities? So in reality, CM Johnson, we did pretty much, we did mostly, no, we didn't, that's not true. We didn't do mostly water-related activities. We did a lot of cycling ones. One of the things I would say is take a look at the cycling excursions. Most of them are on e-bikes because a lot of the islands you go to are quite big hills. So of course, e-bike makes it really simple. So I would look at ports, on the Port Gauguin, there's quite a few like Huani, Moorea, I think have the cycling ones. They are fantastic because you cycle through, you stop, they explain how the pineapples work, you cycle up the hill, you hear about the farm school and stuff like that. So I would definitely, anyone that does that. Now, the other thing is if you are feeling very active in, I think it was also Moorea, near where you dock, maybe about a 15-20 minute walk, there's a massive mountain, which is called Celebration Mountain. And you can hike up that. Now, you can also do an excursion, which Port Gauguin don't offer, but there is an ATV one. But we actually hiked up there. Mark cursed me, said he would never do it again, but it was a fantastic hike. Nice little pathway up, incredible views. But I would focus on the cycle. So any port that offers a cycle one, then on the ports that don't offer the cycle one, do a water one. The one in Bora Bora, the fantastic Bora Bora one, is it's a combined, they do it's a boat and you go to where you swim with sharks and rays, and then you go and do a snorkel, which is quite a deep area with lots of coral and stuff. But that's how I would do it. Anything that offers you a bike tour, I would do that. I would definitely have a go for that. Greg asking the question, we'll be in Northeast Canada a few weeks after you. What plans do you have in Portland and Halifax? Greg, because of the group cruise, I haven't made any specific plans in any port, just so that I can make sure that I can do stuff. So I can't remember. We do have some group tours, but maybe by the time we come back, I'll have a better sense, because depending on that, I will have done stuff in port. So sorry, I can't answer that better. Warren asking the question, what about Quark and Atlas? Quark, I hear very good things from. Rosemary, who was here a bit earlier, I think did Quark. I've seen their new ship, which looks fantastic, with a helicopter on. Atlas, I haven't tried either. But again, people who've been on it rate very highly. And I do want to try both of those. So both of those have very good reputation. Quark, of course, the longest experience in expedition, very highly rated, good on the sort of premium side. And Atlas they're obviously a new line, had a more mixed start, but certainly seemed to be in their stride in this triad right now. So that's great. Well, we have churned through the time already. So I'm sure there's questions that I haven't answered. I always do take a look at the questions, see if there's any way that I can answer them. So thanks so much for joining me on this. As I said, this is my last live stream for the group cruise. I will see once I'm on the group cruise how we can do a live stream. I'll try and do at least one. I think it's unlikely it'll be next weekend, but do keep an eye out. I will post, obviously, if I'm doing one. One of my thoughts is I might try and do the live Q, one of the sessions we do as a group, a live Q&A, but keep an eye out for it. I will try and run at least one live stream subject to Wi-Fi and schedule stuff. But thanks very much for joining me. Hopefully I will get to see you on the, touch base with you on the group cruise, let you know how that's going. So have a great time. And those of you joining me on the group cruise, see you in Boston. Take care.